Hi, just some thoughts for the life groups on going a little deeper on what I was trying to say on Sunday in my preach about love and goodness belonging together. The first thing I want to say is, in case I overstated my case a little, is that goodness and righteousness and justice are absolutely crucially important. I suggest you might want to read Isaiah chapter 1 and particularly verses 10 to 17. Now, I say that because it would seem that the people of Israel had some kind of love for God. They were obedient in their worship. They went to the temple. There was sacrifice. There was ritual. But Isaiah says, no, this is not enough. There needs to be justice for the poor and the needy. One of the things that I've never forgotten is that many years ago, Sammy Davis Jr., the African American entertainer, member of the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, those guys, he converted to Judaism. And he was interviewed, and the interviewer asked him, why Judaism, why not Christianity? And Sammy Davis Jr. gave a very telling reply. He said, well, Christians talk a lot about love. Jews talk more about justice. My people, and he was meaning African Americans, my people have had enough of love. We want justice. That's a really telling word, because there's a kind of love that can be soft, it can be genuinely warm, but if it doesn't roll up its sleeves and get involved in justice for the oppressed and the needy, then we've taken justice out of it completely, and that's dangerous. However, having said that, and balancing up, I want to say too, and this was the gist of what I was saying on Sunday, that moral goodness and righteousness without love can become a cold thing. And I'm going to commend to you two passages of scripture that I'm pretty sure everybody in all the life groups will know very well. But I always think, it's certainly true for me, that the danger of the passages that we know well is not that familiarity breeds contempt, but it breeds a kind of apathetic attitude that I know what they say already. I'm a great believer in reading scripture aloud and letting it speak to you. So I'm going to commend to you two parables. One is the parable of the Good Samaritan. You know the story as well as I do. The man falls among thieves. The priest and the Levite come along. They don't help him because they are good men. They are religious men. They are righteous men, and their very goodness and righteousness don't allow them to help this man. They're on their way to the temple. They would be unclean. And along comes a Samaritan who would be despised for his lack of orthodox religion, who would be seen as a kind of spiritual half-breed. And he does the good thing. He is the Good Samaritan. Why is he good? Because he does the loving thing. He demonstrates his goodness in love that is active and compassionate. And the other passage I would commend to you, again, that you know really well, is Luke 15, verses 11 to 32. The parable, often called the Prodigal Son. Now, that's not really a great name for it. It's the parable of two sons who were both lost in different ways. But the younger son, he goes off, he spends his money, he gets his inheritance from his father. It's a really horrible thing that he did, because essentially, when he asked his father, I want my share of the inheritance now, really what he was saying is he wanted his father dead. But then we come to the older son, and because we are often so moved by the compassion of the father to his younger son, we just dismiss the older brother very quickly. But he is actually a good man. In terms of any moral goodness in the story, he is by far the better man than his brother. He didn't want his father dead. He didn't ask for his share. He stayed there. He worked for his father. It even says, I've never disobeyed your orders. This was a good, obedient son. And he's not going to waste it. He's clearly not a party animal. But he lacks love. Um, he is so far from the heart of the Father. Sometimes it's very difficult to keep that balance between our righteousness and love. You know, we live in a very messy world now where people have lifestyles that shock most of us, where in sexual conduct and personal conduct, people live in ways that really seem quite alien to us, and it's a real challenge. How do we demonstrate love and justice and goodness to people who live lifestyles like that? Not so far different from that of a younger brother. So I suggest to you that you wrestle with Scripture a bit there, because I don't think there's any easy answer to this. It's a constant tussle, but I think Scripture nudges us in the right direction. Hey, it was a great privilege to preach, and it's a great privilege to offer to you some things you might think about. Take care, God bless, be good, and be loving.